Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Wrench Ride and Repeat. Today we are finally going to get to my wife's 96 Dyna lowrider and put the cylinders on, see how that goes, and maybe we'll even go as far as, trying to get the heads on today. It all depends on how it goes. Sometimes it's fun and easy, and other times it sucks and it's a fight and a pain in the ass. So, depending on how it all goes, if it goes smoothly, we might get a lot done today. If it's a fight, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But, it's a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. You got the doors open, the breeze is blowing, and I'm happy to finally get to this because I've been putting it off, and then I hurt my elbow. I couldn't really do anything for a week or so, and now we're back at it, and we're going to try and do it. I got some fueling push rods we're going to put in here. These things are heavy duty. I was just looking at these, brand new. I never used fueling push rods before, but I mean, that's a pound or two easily. So heavy duty push rods. The heads are all done nice. The cylinders are all done nice. And what we're going to do is we're going to do one cylinder the way I do it, or the way I usually do it, is where the piston is already set in the bottom of the cylinder. You set the cylinder on the connecting rod. You get your pin in, your connecting rod pin, and then you just put everything together. The other one, the piston is out of the cylinder, so we're going to put the piston on first. We're going to use a piston compression ring tool, and we're going to put the cylinder down over it on the bike. I got these things from a guy named Ralph on It's My Time, Let's Go, his YouTube channel. Very nice guy. Talked to him on the phone. He's from Nova Scotia, Canada. Really super great guy. So he made these, and what they do is they go like this, and they sit down on top, and then you put your piston on, and then when you're trying to put the cylinder on, it doesn't push the flywheel down, and you can actually, get your cylinder down over your piston. So I got a set. These ones say knuckle, pan, and shovel, right? So all these two will work on 3 different bikes, and then I got another set for the EVO, right? And they fit, on top of the base there. So stick with me, and we're gonna see how this goes. Wish me luck. So here we are. I did a little prep work off camera. I put the base, or the base gaskets in, right? You have to make sure that all the holes line up. There's a dowel pin here that has to line up, and there's also an oil hole that has to line up. So make sure that your oil passages are on there right. We're gonna do the front cylinder first, so I put the plates in first, and we're gonna put this piston on. Very important. Make sure your ring indexing is still the same, right? Remember we did that in the other video. On these pistons is an arrow. Arrow always points forward. All right, so let's get this rotated around here so we can get that piston up. There we go. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So we're gonna set this down on there. It's all nice and lubed up. Okay. Let me see here. Oops. Get you lined up here. It's a little tricky to know exactly where that is. All right. And there it goes. Okay, push that in. And then we're going to do our retaining clips. So I'm going to cover those holes up here in a second. Okay, so we got the piston on. Make sure our rings are indexed. We get the pin in. I'm going to stick this rag right here, because even though we have the plates, that's not what they're for. They're for keeping the piston from going down in the base. So we're going to put our snap ring in to hold our ring on. All right, so we get this in here. All right. Now there's a special tool for this, and sometimes I wish I had it, because these can be a little tricky to get into where they're supposed to be without And fling off it goes. All right, there we go. So we'll grab another one. I'll find that one later. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why you put rags here and cover up these holes, because these little buggers will spring off on you, and then you'll be in a world of hurt because you lost one of these clips down in the engine. No good. No good ski. So clip him in there. Make sure that's set in its ring there. Make sure your connecting pin is secure. All right, that looks pretty good to me. All right. So now we're ready for the ring compression tool. So we'll set him down over there nice and gentle like. Let me just get this off of there till we get the tool on. Okay. All right. And now we'll get the tool on. Which is a little messy in itself sometimes. I really appreciate all my subscribers. It's really great to hear the people are watching the channel, and you know, whether they're learning anything or not, I don't know. But okay, so we got the tool on, rings are compressed. All right, now we're going to take our cylinder, make sure it's on the right side, feed it in here like so. All right, get it lined up with your piston. Okay. All right, that's working pretty well. Oh, my ring compressor kind of slipped off there, so we got to reset him. Get it all the way up to the base of that cylinder. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. There we go. That looks better. And we just pop that guy down there, but my compressor keeps popping off, so we got to kind of reset that again. And am I good on this side? Yeah, it feels good. Okay. All right. All right, and then once you get it down over the rings, pull our tool off. Work our compressor off. Okay. Sorry about the noise. Somebody's tearing a house down, right down the street here. Come on. There we go. Now it's coming. There we go. So you get your ring out, compressor ring out. Now, get that rag out of the way because we got everything where we want it. Come on, rag. All right. There we go. Get that rag out of the way. Get our plates lined up the way we want them. Okay, push that down. Make sure all your holes are lined up. All right, now we can get our plates out of the way. First time using these, so you know things can be a little tricky. There we go. There we go. Get us some room there. Pull him out. Pull him out. All right. Make sure our base gasket's set. All right. Okay. Let me get the little Daddy's little helper here. Okay, first cylinder's on. We're in good shape. So this one, that one we did with the piston ring compression tool. We set the cylinder down over it. And that's on there, and it's nice and high. It's right where we want it. So this one is already installed. Let me see if I can get a better video there. This one is already, the piston's already in, rings are in, right? Connecting pin is in there. And we're gonna set this down over. Actually, I'm gonna get some assembly lube here real quick. And move that connecting rod bushing a little bit. Everything's more fun with a little lube, right? Right. Okay. Get him in here. Okay, I like that. Messy stuff. Okay. But it does the job. So, all right. So I'm going to set him down over. Nice and easy. Get your piston in there. I think this is how we do this. I know I've done it this way before. So what I had to do to get this on was to push the piston all the way up to the cylinder, fit the cylinder in, and then with my plastic mallet, I pushed the piston back out just low enough, right there, where you can see where the connecting rod's going to go in at. All right. So we get our connecting rod on. Hopefully lined up with our piston will be nice. All right. Right around there. I know I got to be close. Ah, crud. Come on. There it goes. Okay, so that's in. And one of my oil rings kind of slipped out, but we're gonna work it in. So as long as the compression rings didn't pop out, we're in pretty good shape. So let me get my other pin in. I want to put that plate back on now. And you certainly don't want to drop that down in the engine because it's aluminum and you can't fish it out. Once again, put a little rag to cover there just to make sure. Like I said, these spring clips are called spring clips for a reason. Get that spring clip started. Little tricky, right? No, that's not it, Aaron. Okay. Hang with me as I try to get this spring. There we go. Okay, it kind of pops in, and then you get it from below with a little screwdriver, and you just pry it up, and you can hear it click, and it pops in. And your connecting rod is on. All right, we're in business. Okay, get the rag out of the way so we're safe now. And I want to get this oil ring in. A little cockeyed here. All right, let's get it down to where we want it. All right. Let me see how I want to do this here. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now we get the plates out of the way. There we go. All right. There's one. And there's two. Okay. So set that guy back down on. Push this guy down on. There we have it. Cylinders are on. Okay, on to the next step. I think we're going to start aligning the heads on. And there's going to be a real technical part of this where we torque down the heads. So let me get that stuff prepped and I'll be right back. Right on. So we put our head gaskets on, right? Very important too. These are Cometic. All right, so we're going to get our studs lined up. Everything kind of sit nice. I pre-put the pushrod tube seals in. See them? Sorry, you can't. I don't know if you can see them there. And then we're just going to set this guy. Make sure he's the front. Right? They're stamped on the top. It says front. Okay, good enough. Set him in there nice and gentle like. And I have it backwards. Haha. There we go. Okay. Now that was right. Set you down over. Make sure your head gasket is not bound or kinked or popped out. And just set the head down on there like that. Grab the rear head. Same deal. Just kind of line him up. Set him down. It's easier when you're at eye level instead of being 6'2". Oh, you're way off, Aaron. There we go. There it is. Okay, sit right down in there. Head gasket looks nice and good in there. All right, now we're going to get some head bolts at least started. Okay. So in the manual, it says to oil the top of your studs, which I did, and then to fill your head bolts with a little bit of oil. And I did that, and I've been letting them drain. So there's some good oil in there. So we start putting these guys in. Right, one there, and then the short ones go on my side. So the shorty there, the short one there. Okay, down there, short one on my side. And they say to oil the surface of the bolt right here too. Okay, so when you're torquing them down, you're not grinding metal on metal. So a little bit of everything makes everything go a lot smoother. Get that out of the way. Just like everything else, take your time. Make sure everything's aligned right. Don't force anything. Oh, that's kind of loose and then it gets tight. And then it's loose and then it gets tight. Let's try that now. Okay, they're close enough. Okay, put that in there. Going on. Okay, so now they're just snug down, nothing special. And we're going to come over and look at our Cometic box with the instructions, and I'll post a picture of that. And it's kind of hard to read, so I'm going to get my old man glasses out. All right. So there's a sequence pattern you got to follow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Long bolt, short bolt. And the initial one says, in sequence, tighten all head bolts to 9 foot-pounds. All right, so we'll start with 9 foot-pounds. There. And I need my socket and I need an adapter real quick. All right, so we got the torque wrench set to 9 foot-pounds for our initial torque. And, you know, they're fairly loose yet, so this might take a bunch of cranks. And what I want to do here is look at my sequence. So, short bolt on my side. So, yeah, that was on the right one. All right, so rear one first. There's 9. All right, clink. And then I think short 2, right? Starts to grab. There's 9 there. All right, now we're going to run over to the other side. I'm going to take this extension off. Okay. 9 foot-pounds really isn't much. It really isn't. Okay. And then I'm going to do the front one the same way. Start on the rear short. I'm going to get me a digital torque wrench here soon. Okay, and around the other side. Slipped off. There we go. Okay. That one's very loose. There we go. Okay, so now we're back to the instructions. Real quick, it says tighten all head bolts to, and then in sequence, again in sequence, we're going to go to 14. So we'll set our wrench. That's 10. And that's 14. And then we go round robin all over again. See, that didn't take much. It was like a quarter of a turn. Okay, and I'll just do these while we're here. Now, in my younger, dumber days, I didn't quite know how to use torque wrench properly, and I ended up stripping out one of the cylinder studs, and that was a bit of a nightmare. And then I didn't drill it straight, and I put it back together, and it ended up cracking the bottom of the engine, and I had to have it filled and welded and all that fun stuff. So always make sure you know what you're doing with your torque wrench. Still at 14. Oh, this is going smoothly. I like this. Beautiful. 14. Okay. Back to the instructions. And the instructions say, again, in sequence, tighten all head bolts to 22 foot-pounds. All right. So really all this is doing is setting your head down evenly and pressing the gasket down evenly so that it gets a good flat compression and you don't leak or you don't blow the head gasket out. All right, so we're set to 22 foot-pounds. Same thing, same sequence. And it's probably not going to be much. Okay, I like that. Okay. always a little leery. Okay. So wonderful Pennsylvania weather. We went from rainy and freezy and crappy weather to now it's 80 degrees out. And you have to start wearing underwear. I don't get it. Okay, nice and clicky. I like it. All right. Come on. Okay. All right. Going pretty smooth. We should be getting close to the end here. So 22. Then in sequence, tighten all head bolts to 35 pounds. And finally torque them to 42. So we're going to go to 35 pounds. There's 30. And 5. Okay. Round we go. Come on. All right, it's really clicking now when it sets. Make sure I'm on there square. Okay. On there, good. Okay. This is really not difficult. It just takes some patience and understanding what you're reading and setting your tools properly. Click, click, click. Here we go. So I don't know if these ones, with the stock ones, you set your final torque, and we'll have to read more of the instructions. You set your final torque, and then you mark the top of the head and the bolt, and then you turn that bolt a quarter turn. You're not checking torque specs. You're just turning that bolt, and that supersedes that thing. So we'll look at this Cometic and see what it says after we get 35 foot-pounds. Oop, there we go. Okay. I'm happy to be doing this today because once this bike is done and I can roll it out the door, we're going to have a grand exodus move up to the new garage and we won't have to worry about the basement anymore. Okay. Now it said 42. See here. All right, there's 40 and 42. And I'm going to just confirm. Okay, yep, 42 in the last sequence. And then there's no extra torque. So we'll set it the way the instructions say. This is the last sequence without that extra quarter turn. Now, all gasket manufacturers are a little different. So you might get James gaskets, all right, and they might be one way. Stock gaskets are another way. These Cometics are what they are. So follow the instructions for the gaskets because that's how they're engineered. All right. Come on. All right. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a little damage there on the head. I'm going to have to maybe clean that up a little bit. We'll hit it with the Dremel. Doesn't seem like much at 42 foot-pounds, but maybe I'm just stronger than I think. All right. Again, I don't know if you watched the head head video, what we did a while back over the winter, we had these heads hydroblasted, and the guy did an amazing job with them. And if you look down in here, Bob, you can get a close-up. I already installed the O-rings for the pushrod tubes. And so we're ready to go. We're going to put the pushrods in. Okay, I'm going to stop here and just give us a little wrap-up video here. I got the cylinders on, the pistons are in, of course, a lot of the spring clips are in. We put the heads on, we torqued the heads down to spec for the Cometic gasket set. And I went ahead and put the rocker boxes on, and you can probably skip that part. It was just a lot of wrenching, and everybody knows how to turn a bolt and tighten some stuff down without major damage. So with that, I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on Wrench Ride and Repeat.